Florida Real Estate Vocab Flashcards, 77 questions with explained answers. Flashcard 1. Term, cloud on title. Definition: any defect, valid claim, or encumbrance that serves to impair the title or curtail an owner's rights. Flashcard 2. Term, appraisal. Definition: professional service provided by a registered, licensed, or certified appraiser to produce an estimate of value. Flashcard 3. Term, buyer brokerage agreement. Definition: an employment contract with a purchaser. Flashcard 4. Term, declaration. Definition: the legal document that the developer of a condominium must file and record in order to create a condominium under state law. Flashcard 5. Term, commercial. Definition: a classification of real estate that includes income-producing properties such as office buildings, gasoline stations, restaurants, shopping centers, hotels and motels, and parking lots. Commercial property usually must be zoned for business purposes. Flashcard 6. Term, covenant. Definition: a warranty, guarantee, or promise formally given in a legal document. Flashcard 7. Term, defeasance clause. Definition: a provision in a mortgage that specifies the terms and conditions to be met in order to avoid default and thereby defeat the mortgage. Flashcard 8. Term, construction lien. Definition: a claim based on the principle of unjust enrichment, favors parties who have performed labor or delivered materials or supplies for the repair or building of an improvement to real property. Flashcard 9. Term, counteroffer. Definition: a rejection of the original offer by proposing a new offer, thereby terminating the original offer. Flashcard 10. Term, exclusive agency listing. Definition: employment contract given to one real estate broker as the sole agent for the sale of an owner's property. Flashcard 11. Term, conventional mortgage. Definition: a real estate loan granted that is neither FHA insured nor VA guaranteed. Flashcard 12. Term, deposit. Definition: earnest money or some other valuable consideration given as evidence of good faith to accompany an offer to purchase or rent. Flashcard 13. Term, assessment. Definition: the allocation of the proportionate individual share of a common expense in a condo or co-op building. Flashcard 14. Term, buyer's market. Definition: the supply of available properties exceeds the demand. Flashcard 15. Term, community. Definition: collection of homes typically built by a single developer, sometimes gated, also referred to as a subdivision, similar to a new housing estate in the UK. Flashcard 16. Term, annual percentage rate, APR. Definition: the total cost of credit expressed as a yearly percentage. Flashcard 17. Term, capitalization rate. Definition: the relationship between the net income from a real estate investment and the present value. Flashcard 18. Term, comparative market analysis, CMA. Definition: an informal estimate of market value performed by a real estate licensee for the seller to assist in arriving at an appropriate listing price, or if working with the buyer, an informal estimate of market value to assist the buyer in arriving at an appropriate offering price. Flashcard 19. Term, contract. Definition: an agreement between two or more competent parties to do, or not do, some legal act for a legal consideration. Flashcard 20. Term, contract for deed. Definition: a financing technique wherein the seller agrees to deliver the deed at some future date and the buyer takes possession while paying the agreed amount. Flashcard 21. Term, cash flow. Definition: the resulting amount when annual debt service, tax liability, and capital improvement costs are subtracted from net operating income. Flashcard 22. Term, building codes. Definition: government ordinances regulating construction practices and materials. Flashcard 23. Term, borrower. Definition: the mortgagor, one who gives a mortgage as security for a debt. Flashcard 24. Term, bylaws. Definition: rules that govern the administration of the condominium. Flashcard 25. Term, assignor. Definition: person who gives his or her legal rights or interests to another person, one who assigns or transfers property. Flashcard 26. Term, abandonment. Definition: a surrender of rights, point when a broker makes no effort to service or sell listed property, failure to perform. Flashcard 27. Term, breach. Definition: failure to do or perform what has been promised. Flashcard 28. Term, appreciation. Definition: an increase in value. Flashcard 29. Term, appraiser. Definition: one who estimates officially the worth or value or quality of things and is registered, licensed, or certified by the DBPR and provides an estimate of value. Flashcard 30. Term, assignee. Definition: person to whom a right or interest is transferred, the party to whom the assignment is made. Flashcard 31. Term, co-ownership, concurrent or multiple ownership. Definition, title to real property held by two or more persons at the same time. Flashcard 32. Term, eminent domain. Definition, the constitutional right given to a unit of government to take private property involuntarily if taken for public use and a fair price is paid to the owner. Flashcard 33. Term, business trust, syndicate. Definition, a group of people who associate with each other for the purpose of purchasing shares or units at a specified amount per unit, with the money raised to be used to purchase the real property, often for subdividing and resale. Flashcard 34. Term, descent. Definition, the passage of title to real property upon the death of the owner to his or her legal descendants. Flashcard 35. Term, depreciation. Definition, a loss in value for any reason, a deduction for tax purposes. Flashcard 36. Term, assessed value. Definition, estimated value on real property for tax purposes by a county property appraiser. Flashcard 37. Term, absentee owner. Definition, a property holder who does not reside on the property and who usually relies on a property manager to supervise the investment. Flashcard 38. Term, business brokerage age. Definition, the sale, purchase, or lease of businesses that provide goods and/or services. Flashcard 39. Term, deed restriction. Definition, provision placed in deeds to control future uses of the property. Flashcard 40. Term, devise. Definition, a gift of real property by a will. Flashcard 41. Term, cooperative. Definition, a multi-unit project consisting of individual dwelling units owned by the corporation in which the individual apartment tenants own stock rather than owning their respective units. Flashcard 42. Term, associate. Definition, person working under a broker. Flashcard 43. Term, assignment. Definition, written instrument that serves to transfer the rights or interests of one person to another. Flashcard 44. Term, conveyance. Definition, written instrument that serves to transfer an interest in real property from one party to another. Flashcard 45. Term, equitable title. Definition, the right of a vendee to obtain absolute ownership of property to which the vendor has legal title, the interest held by a vendee under a sale contract or contract for deed. Flashcard 46. Term, agency. Definition, express or implied authorization for one person to act for another agent. A representative, one who is authorized to act on behalf of another. Flashcard 47. Term, condemnation. Definition, the taking of private real property for a public purpose under the right of eminent domain for a fair price. Flashcard 48. Term, acknowledgement. Definition, formal declaration before an authorized official, by the person who executed the instrument, that it is a free act. Flashcard 49. Term, affidavit. Definition, a sworn statement written down before a notary or public official. Flashcard 50. Term, deed. Definition, a type of conveyance, a written instrument to transfer title to real property from one party to another. Flashcard 51. Term, closing. Definition, final settlement between the buyer and seller, the date on which title passes from the seller to the buyer. Flashcard 52. Term, arbitration. Definition, a settlement technique in which a third party reviews the case and imposes a decision that is legally binding for both sides. Flashcard 53. Term, assumption of mortgage. Definition, acquiring title to property on which there is an existing mortgage and agreeing to be personally liable for the terms and condition of the mortgage, including payments, the taking over of an existing mortgage by a buyer. Flashcard 54. Term, corporation. Definition, an artificial or fictitious person formed to conduct specified types of business activities. Flashcard 55. Term, creditor. Definition, a lender, person or business entity to whom a debt is owed. Flashcard 56. Term, encumbrance clause. Definition, a provision in a deed to real property that warrants that no liens, claims, or liabilities exist on the property being conveyed, except as specified. Flashcard 57. Term, economic life. Definition, the period of time a property may be expected to be profitable or productive, useful life. Flashcard 58. Term, attorney, power of. Definition, designation of another person to act for a principal who may not be present. Flashcard 59. Term, business broker. Definition, real estate licensees who engage in the sale, purchase, or lease of businesses. Flashcard 60. Term, devisor. Definition, one who gives real property through a will. Flashcard 61. Term, devisee. Definition, one who receives real property under a will. Flashcard 62. Term, encumbrance. Definition: any lien, claim, or liability affecting the title or attaching to real property. Flashcard 63. Term, demand deposits. Definition: checking accounts payable on demand by holder. Flashcard 64. Term, ad valorem. Definition: taxation according to the value in proportion to worth. Flashcard 65. Term, general warranty deed. Definition: an instrument of conveyance containing the strongest and most comprehensive promises of further assurance possible for a grantor, seller, to convey to a grantee, buyer. Flashcard 66. Term, common law. Definition: a system of law based on accepted customs and traditions. Flashcard 67. Term, balloon payment. Definition: a single, large payment made at maturity of a partially amortized mortgage to pay off the debt in full. Flashcard 68. Term, convertible mortgage. Definition: a financing instrument allowing a change from an adjustable rate to a fixed-rate mortgage. Flashcard 69. Term, exclusive right of sale. Definition: an employment contract given to one real estate broker as the sole agent for the sale of an owner's property, with the commission going to that broker regardless of who actually sells the property during the employment contact period. Flashcard 70. Term, alienation. Definition: law, the voluntary and absolute transfer of ownership, title, and possession of real property from one person to another. Flashcard 71. Term, earnest money deposit. Definition: a type of money that a broker may handle for others in the ordinary course of business, also referred to as good faith deposit or binder deposit. Flashcard 72. Term, discount points. Definition: a method for increasing a lender's yield, see also point, mortgage discount. Flashcard 73. Term, estate by the entireties. Definition: a tenancy created by husband and wife jointly owning real property with instant and complete right of survivorship. Flashcard 74. Term, buy down. Definition: a financing technique in which points are paid to the lender by the seller or builder that lowers, buys down, the effective interest rate paid by the buyer/borrower, thus reducing the amount of the monthly payment for a set period of time. Flashcard 75. Term, equity. Definition: the market value of a property less any debt against it. Flashcard 76. Term, documentary stamp tax. Definition: state tax required on all deeds or other documents used as conveyances. The charge is based on the total purchase price. Flashcard 77. Term, down payment. Definition: a portion of a purchase price paid prior to closing the transaction. Earnest money may be part of or the entire down payment.